The library of JRPGs in every console is vast and rich, that a lot of gamers sometimes overlook these games that doesn't deserve it. There are the games that needs to be appreciated more because of how underrated they are based on what I see in the gaming community. This is the list of all the underrated JRPGs that I love so much, so if an underrated game that you love wasn't made it on my list, then talk to my lawyer. If you think this game is not underrated, then talk to my lawyer. If you think I said a mistake, then talk to my lawyer. If you have a problem with me, I think your face is so underrated. Moving forward, this is my opinion and it is based on how gamers fails to notice these amazing games. So without further ado, let's start with number 10. First on the list is Earthlock Festival of Magic. People don't even know this game even existed since it's an indie game developed by Snow Castle Games. The game's story is short and it's not the best out there since it could have been better. While it's not revolutionary in its plot, the combat system is really fun and very challenging. The world ain't that massive, but it's full of puzzles and obstacles as you traverse the land, desert, and forest, plus there's a farming simulator to upgrade items and tools. Also, one of the things you should be aware about this game is some of the bosses are quite unbalanced, so you really need to grind and level up talents, bonds, and abilities. I already platinumed this game in PS4, and it's quite rare for me to collect trophies unless I find the game very interesting. Ultimately, what makes Earthlock so essential is just how earnest it is in its love for classic JRPGs. It's worth sitting through its more cumbersome features in order to appreciate the hard work that a team of people who clearly love the genre have sweated over to refine the game to the point where it's not only a homage to the greats of old, but it adds just a little to what makes the genre so wonderful. And there will be another title, which is Earthlock 2, which will be released sometime this year. Next up is probably an unknown JRPG for some of the viewers here, which is developed by Sting Entertainment and published by Atlus for the PlayStation Portable. Hexyz Force is such a great RPG that truly captivated the magical fantasy world that we all wanted. When you begin the game, you can choose between two characters to play as Cecilia or Levant. The game varies greatly between these two characters as the game tells the same story from different perspectives but will be eventually intertwined as you progress. The story is okay and it's quite confusing at some point, but it's typical save the world trope that we all know. The combat system is good all turn-based, which is pretty basic to learn and to enjoy. The chibi character designs made me love it even more since it really made the game appealing and it reminds me of the older style 2D RPGs. Overall, Hexyz Force is a safe effort bringing barely anything to the table, but it will be appealing for those who are not looking for something complicated, or those looking for a decent 40-hour dual story epic gameplay. Another PSP classic that surprised me for how good and simple it is. Brave Story New Traveler is such an underrated game and it is comfortingly familiar type of RPG that still feels fresh. Thanks to the strength of its characterization, the attention to detail, the swift pace of battles and quests, and the technological proficiency of its load times. The story follows Tatsuya who travels to a different world where he needs to collect 5 gemstones to save his friend Miki. The combat system is perfect for those who are new to RPGs since it's not complicated and it's easy to understand, with Unity and Brave powers that are too overpowered, thus making the game less difficult unless you encounter strong enemies. Brave Story really excelled for its graphics, which is so good during PSP era, and the soundtrack are very nostalgic. Hearing it makes me wanna play it again. Although it's kind of repetitive in certain areas of the game, Brave Story still deserves to get known as a great game with a vibrant and colorful world true to the simple old school RPGs, which is suited for all ages and is one of the best handheld RPGs ever released. Seventh on my list is Shining Force EXA. This is another game that is criminally underrated because of how amazing this game looks. The game harbors the action gameplay from Diablo, and it follows the tale of a group of 4 heroes, Toma, Cyril, Gadford, and Mabel, in search for a legendary sword known as Shining Force, rumored to provide its wielder with incredible power but lost after an epic battle with an evil deity. Unlike most RPGs, Toma and Cyril are both playable characters that you can switch back and forth between during battle to take advantage of their abilities. There are a total of 8 party members to join you, but 8 playable, with each have their own weapons and set of skills and magics to gain as they level up. The game is not perfect, with some issues about camera fixed angle, and sometimes it's very glitchy, but the fun never stops as you hack and slash your way through dungeons and open areas, which is so satisfying to play. Visually, Shining Force EXA is eye-catching, with an anime-inspired character designs, almost cel-shaded mix of monsters, and beautiful environment. It's quite sad that this game is one of the most underappreciated Shining Force games for how great it is during the PlayStation 2 era. Next up is another title that has been forgotten, or perhaps a few barely knows it. Blue Dragon is an exclusive Xbox 360 RPG by Miss Walker and Artune, written by Hironobu Sakaguchi. Taking place in a fictional open-world environment where the core mechanic is using magical shadows in battle. I'm such a big fan of the anime. I used to watch it a lot way back then when I was a kid. The story of Blue Dragon focuses on 5 friends, Shu, Jiro, Kluke, Zora, and Marumaru, as they travel across the world to confront Nene, the evil ruler of the Grand Kingdom. Blue Dragon's combat make use of a queue system like Final Fantasy X, which allows players to formulate strategies, and I love me some good turn-based battle. The game design are visually astounding, and the world is an enormous and fully realized world that plays with scale. The gameplay, graphics, and music are all great. The job system is very clever, open-ended feature that allows you to customize your characters very well. The story is good, but not really that incredible, but who cares? I love cliché. If you're a person who just loves to sit and play an anime style and simple JRPG, then I really suggest you try this game. Blue Dragon definitely delivers something to the 360 that the original Xbox system never had enough of, which is an RPG so original, exciting, and appealing. Fifth on my list is not something you would say if you were asked what's the greatest Final Fantasy RPG ever made, because it isn't, but it's so damn good. Final Fantasy Type 0 was first released for the PSP and later on got an HD remaster for the PS4. It is the bloodiest and horrific Final Fantasy title Square Enix has ever made so far. This spin-off game focuses on Class 0, a group of 14 students from the Vermilion Peristylium, a magical academy in the Dominion of Rubrum. Final Fantasy Type 0's best feature though is the rapid action-based combat that allows you to mix and match party members to create versatile 3-man squads on the battlefield. Each member of Class 0 has their own distinct weapon, abilities, combat styles, and speed. I'm pretty sure many have seen this game but never tried it because of how different it is from the main series. But this game really gave me one hell of a roller coaster ride of emotions. Only cons that I can remember is dull environment, the camera and mission controls are quite clunky, which are just some minor issues for me. But the game truly is so underrated because Type 0 has everything a Final Fantasy fan could ever ask for. A superb battle system, lots of characters, hours upon hours of interesting quests and great story. Overall, it's an RPG deserved to be appreciated, bringing something new flavor which is dark and unique with a beautiful storytelling. Next up is another epic game that needs some justice. The Alliance Alive by Cattle Call proves that it's timeless and brings back nostalgic feeling as you plunge in the fantasy world of humans and demons divided by 4 lands through Dark Current. It doesn't take too many hours of adventuring to see what developer Cattle Call is going for. It's a mix of old and new, melding the tried and true storytelling concepts that carried the JRPG genre through the 90s with more experimental ideas on what it means to be a role-playing game. Taking place in a world split into different realms after a human versus demon war 1,000 years prior, Alliance follows 3 teams led by characters who are the driving force to change this fractured world, including the 2 childhood friends Galil and Azura, who are the 2 main protagonists of the game. It has a well-written story, a smartly interwoven and complex system of gameplay mechanics, and a distinctive visual style makes this a no-brainer for anybody looking for a consistently high-quality RPG experience. The battle system is sufficiently deep and caters to any style of play. What is unique about it is the different weapons that you can equip with their own specific set of skills and magic, with each has own awakening skill. The Alliance Alive was written by Yoshitaka Murayama, who is the creator of Suikoden, so expect some great things if you would like to try this amazing JRPG. It's the kind of game that looks like it would be easy to dismiss or overlook as being something too indebted to yesteryear, but in truth it deserves so much greater respect than that. Well, E-Series is an underrated JRPG series to begin with. One of their games is not receiving the attention it deserved. Ys Origin is a prequel to the previous 9 installments, and it takes place 700 years before the event of the first Ys game. It follows the story of the 3 playable characters, Yunika, Yugo, and Toad. Ys Origin is a fantastic game and definitely a good way to get into the series itself. The controls feel pretty fluid for the most part, with action-based hack-and-slash gameplay to satisfy your gaming experience. You have several different difficulty options to choose from, so anyone from newcomers to experts can enjoy the game. The visuals still look pretty good today, and the soundtrack is nice to just sit back and to listen to. As the protagonists explore the tower, new gear will become available, though mostly are slightly off the beaten path, so players will need to explore to find all the equipment available for their character with. Every floor has a new encounter and bosses which are quite challenging, so you need to strategize and memorize your way to victory. While the game itself has some flaws and drawbacks, Ys Origin is an incredibly refreshing game featuring characters with incredibly diverse playstyles, simple yet challenging combat, and an unmistakably large amount of a tried and true Nihon Falcon formula that JRPG fans will definitely enjoy. Next game is probably a game I keep on replaying whenever I feel burnout or just wanna relax myself. Suikoden Tactics is such a gem. I know some of you all might have never know or not like this game, but it's a game that is very special for me. It is a tactical RPG where the story is told in 2 parts, taking place both before and after the events of Suikoden 4, and it features appearances by characters from the title. Players assume the role of Kirill, a young man investigating the power of mysterious weapons called rune cannons, which hold strange powers of transforming a person into a fish-like monsters. After the events and time skip, Kirill along with his friends searches and traverses through island to island to uncover the mysteries of the rune cannons. The gameplay is one of the things I really commend about this game. It's very simple and easy to understand because I really don't like complicated mechanics. As usual, you can recruit characters to join your party, but be careful because some of them will die permanently except some characters who are essential to the story. You can upgrade skills and equip runes or items to imbue terrain and squares with various elements. This is perfect for beginners who are new in tactical RPGs. The downside is it's a short gameplay, but it has a new game plus where Lalakal can be recruited along with your items after finishing the game. Also, if you have Suikoden 4 save file with 108 stars of destiny, you can recruit and play as Laszlo and Snow, the protagonists of Suikoden 4, who is a game changer that will make your gameplay very easy. Overall, Suikoden Tactics is one of my favorite tactics RPG. It's very simple, love the story, well-written characters, and its replayability is one of the reasons I keep coming back to this awesome and wonderful game. Next up, topping our list is a game from an underrated series in the PS2 library. Shadow Hearts from the New World is as good as the first 2 games in the series, except it's lacking the presence of Yuri, who was one of the coolest RPG protagonists ever. But we have Johnny Garland, who is an amnesia private investigator who travels with a Native American Shania in pursuit of a malevolent being known as Lady. This Forgotten Shadow Hearts sequel made some fantastic improvements in gameplay compared to Covenant. The magic system, for example, rather than a list where you can equip stuff, it changes to Constellation where you can customize and upgrade spell levels. The setting is set in 1929. You can see how much work they put in this game, with such a beautiful artwork of the places set in America. One aspect in gameplay are magics which come from the items called stellars. You'll be able to locate them on your travels, and they can be inserted into a stellar grid equipped by characters. Also, the Judgment Ring combo is back where you won't waste and gamble any turns from the previous game. Here you can perform combo as long as you have some levels in stock meter which maxes out at 2 and double action enabling 2 skills at 1 to your advantage. Gameplay wise, From the New World is the best out of all 3 in the series except for the story, which is simpler and not as intricate as the story from the Covenant. Although the game has the same great setting and environment plus the soundtrack that make me love this game even more. Thankfully, you'll spend a majority of your time immersed in the stellar combat of drinking in these often surreal moments that define Shadow Hearts From the New World as one of the most inventive and entertaining RPG from the PS2 that deserve a recognition even up to this day.